The sky above New Hope Colony turned dark as the alien ships blocked out the sun. The research outpost, nestled between rocky hills and tall blue-green trees, had been peaceful just moments before. Commander Alexa Bennett looked up from her data tablet, her eyes narrowing at the sudden shadow. "Susan, are you seeing this?" She called to her second-in-command. Lieutenant Susan Miller rushed to the window, her lab coat fluttering behind her. "Those aren't our ships," she said, her voice steady despite the fear growing inside her. Alexa hit the alarm button. Red lights flashed through the outpost as 14 women dropped their work and moved quickly to their emergency stations. They were scientists, researchers, and engineers, not soldiers, but all colonists on the frontier received basic defense training. "This is not a drill," Alexa announced over the intercom. "Unknown vessels in orbit. Secure all research data and prepare for possible hostile contact." Dr. Laura Peterson, the team's xenobiologist, rushed to back up the valuable research on alien life forms they had collected over the past year. Karen Harris, the communications specialist, tried to send a distress signal to Earth. "No response from Earth Command," Karen reported, her fingers flying over the controls. "They're jamming our signals." Outside, the air rippled as transport ships descended. They were sleek and purple, with strange symbols etched on their sides. When they landed, tall figures emerged. They had gray skin, 4 arms, and wore armor that shimmered like oil on water. "Zarkonians," Susan whispered in shock. Everyone had heard of them. An old empire that controlled dozens of star systems. They looked down on humans as newcomers to space, barely worth noticing. Alexa grabbed the emergency weapons locker key. "Everyone arm yourselves. We need to hold them off until..." The doors to the outpost burst open with a hiss of burning metal. The Zarkonians moved fast, firing weapons that shot blue light. The light didn't kill. It paralyzed. One by one, the women fell, unable to move but still conscious, still aware. "Take only the females," ordered the Zarkonian leader in a deep, clicking voice. "Our studies show they are the weaker specimens, easier to control for our labor program." Alexa, still fighting the paralyzing beam, managed to send one short emergency burst from her personal communicator before she too was frozen in place. Her last thought before being dragged to the transport ship was of her husband back on Earth. 3 days later, on Earth, Captain Jack Harris sat in the office of Admiral Patricia Wright. His fists clenched so tight his knuckles had turned white. "My wife is on that outpost, Admiral. Karen, and 13 other women, all taken by these Zarkonians." His voice nearly broke saying the alien name. Admiral Wright nodded grimly. The emergency signal from Commander Bennett was clear. "The Galactic Council has been notified, but they're calling it a minor incident. Apparently, the Zarkonians do this sort of thing. Raid developing worlds for labor." "Labor." Jack's voice was dangerously quiet. "They took our people for slave labor. The council representative says the women will be well treated as research subjects and workers." Wright couldn't hide her disgust. "They suggested we file a formal complaint and wait for the diplomatic process." Ambassador Gregory Collins entered the room, his face grim. "The Zarkonians laughed at my complaint. They called us barely spacefaring primitives and suggested we should be grateful for their interest in our species." Jack stood up slowly. "How many ships can you give me, Admiral?" Wright looked at him steadily. "Officially, none. The Council has warned against military action." She paused, then added, unofficially, "The UES Defiant is ready whenever you are, Captain Harris. Intelligence Officer Daniel White has some leads on where they might have taken our people." Jack nodded. "The Zarkonians think they took our weakest. They have no idea what they've done." As Jack left to prepare his ship and crew, a lone alien diplomat from the Exilarian species watched him go. The diplomat turned to an aide and spoke quietly. "The Zarkonians have made a terrible mistake. They do not understand humans at all. especially when it comes to protecting their own. The great hall of the Galactic Council gleamed with light reflected off polished stone floors. Ambassador Gregory Collins stood before the curved table where representatives from 50 alien species sat in judgment. His voice echoed in the vast chamber. The Zarkonian Empire has violated our sovereignty and abducted 14 Earth citizens. We demand their immediate return, Gregory said. The Zarkonian representative, Krell, made a sound like stones grinding together. Their version of laughter. He stood twice as tall as the human, his 4 arms crossing in a gesture of dismissal. Humans are barely spacefaring primitives, Krell said. Consider this a learning experience. Your females will be well treated as research subjects. Perhaps in a century or two, when your species has proven itself worthy, we might discuss their return. Murmurs spread through the council chamber. Most species seemed amused by the exchange. Humans were newcomers to the galactic stage, and many older civilizations still viewed them as curiosities. Gregory's face remained calm, though his eyes burned with anger. Then we have nothing more to discuss. He turned and walked out of the chamber, ignoring the startled reactions of the council members. Humans usually begged for help when slighted by older species. This quiet dignity was unexpected. As Gregory left, a small blue-skinned Silurian diplomat hurried after him. Ambassador Collins, a moment please. Gregory paused. Yes, Diplomat Varn. The Zarkonians do not understand what they have done, Varn said, voice low. My species has studied yours. Your protective nature, especially regarding your females, is remarkable. I have warned the Zarkonian representative, but they will not listen. Gregory nodded. Thank you for your concern, but this is now a matter between Earth and the Zarkonian Empire. Back on Earth, in the dimly lit war room of Earth Defense Command, Admiral Patricia Wright faced the projected images of her top officers. The diplomatic approach has failed, she said. As expected, Captain Jack Harris stood beside her, his face hard as stone. Intelligence Officer Daniel White has located the research facility where they're holding our people. Daniel stepped forward, pointing to a holographic map showing the distant star system. The captives are being held here, on the 4th moon of Zarkon Prime. It's their most secure research facility, surrounded by defense platforms and a planetary shield. Impossible to reach directly, Jack said, then smiled grimly. Or so they think. Admiral Wright looked at each face in the room. What I'm about to authorize goes against the Galactic Council's direct warning. Any officer who wishes to step down may do so now without penalty. No one moved. Very well, she continued. Captain Harris will lead a rescue mission with the UES Defiant. We'll cover your approach with a fleet exercise near Procyon. That should draw their attention away from your insertion point. Jack nodded. The Defiant can make the jump. We've been testing the new stealth systems for precisely this kind of operation. Lieutenant Ryan Cooper, leader of the Special Forces team, spoke up. My team is ready, sir. We can be in and out before they know what hit them. As the meeting continued, thousands of light years away, the captured women faced their own challenges. Commander Alexa Bennett lay still on a cold metal examination table as Zarkonian scientists hovered around her. They spoke as if she couldn't understand, but their translation devices worked both ways. The females show higher intelligence than expected, one scientist noted, but physically weaker than the males we studied previously. Perfect for the labor program, another replied. Intelligent enough to follow complex instructions, but not strong enough to resist. Alexa kept her face blank, but her mind raced. Across the room, she could see Susan and 3 other women also being examined. They exchanged quick glances, a silent agreement passing between them. That night, when the guards changed shifts, Alexa gathered the women in their cell block. They've underestimated us, she whispered. And that's going to be their biggest mistake. Dr. Laura Peterson nodded. I've been studying their physiology. They have weaknesses we can exploit. Susan Miller held up a small metal object she'd managed to smuggle from the lab. And I think I can get into their systems with this. Alexa smiled for the first time since their capture. Then let's show them exactly what human women are capable of. The Zarkonian research facility was built like a fortress. Metal walls rose high above barren ground, and guard towers watched every approach. Inside, the human women were kept in a special wing with clear walls, so the aliens could observe them at all times. But the watchers didn't understand what they were seeing. When Alexa pressed her palm against Susan's shoulder, it looked like comfort. It was actually a message in tap code they had developed. When Dr. Laura Peterson braided Olivia Clark's hair, she was whispering plans. When Karen Harris cried in the corner, she was actually mapping guard rotations by counting seconds between patrols. They think we're breaking, Alexa whispered during the brief darkness of sleep cycle. The 14 women huddled close, their voices barely audible. But we're getting stronger. Susan nodded. I studied their computer terminals during lab work. Their security is complex, but I found a pattern in their code. And I've identified 3 major weaknesses in their biology, Laura added. Their eyes can't process quick changes in light. Their breathing tubes are exposed when they speak, and they have poor balance on their left side. Karen held up a small object that glinted in the dim light. I managed to grab this from the communications lab. It's a signal amplifier. I can modify it to send a message if we can access a terminal. The women had formed a perfect team. Each used her special skills while the Zarkonians remained blind to the threat. The aliens saw only what they expected: weak, frightened humans. A loud hiss announced the door opening. 2 guards entered, their armor clicking as they moved. Subject 37, come with us, one ordered, pointing at Olivia, the youngest of the group at just 23. Olivia's eyes widened with fear, but Alexa squeezed her hand. 3 quick pulses, the signal they had prepared for. She's ill, Alexa said, stepping forward. Take me instead. The guard pushed Alexa aside. Move away. We have orders. As the guard reached for Olivia, Susan suddenly pitched forward, falling hard against the guard's left side. The alien stumbled, off balance. In that instant, Laura threw a handful of crushed mixture into the guard's breathing tubes. It was made from their food rations, containing a chemical that reacted with the Zarkonian respiratory system. The guard choked and fell to his knees. The second guard raised his weapon, but Karen was ready. She had modified their water dispenser to spray in a specific pattern. She triggered it, sending a bright, flashing stream of water across the room. The guard's eyes couldn't adjust to the quick light changes. He fired wildly, hitting the wall instead of the women. Alexa moved fast, grabbing the fallen guard's stun baton. With one quick strike, she knocked the second guard unconscious. Quickly, she ordered. Susan, get to the terminal. Karen, bring your transmitter. Olivia, watch the door. Everyone else, take what weapons you can. They worked with practiced precision. Susan hacked into the terminal while Karen connected her modified amplifier. I can only disable the cameras in this section, Susan said, her fingers moving swiftly. And I can't access the main systems without triggering alarms. That's enough, Alexa replied. Karen, can you send the signal? Karen nodded, concentrating on the device. It won't give our exact location, but it will send a ping on the emergency frequency. If anyone from Earth is looking for us, they'll know we're alive. Far away, on the edge of Zarkonian space, the UES Defiant drifted silently. Its new stealth systems made it invisible to standard sensors. On the bridge, Captain Jack Harris stared at the star map, his face tense with worry and lack of sleep. Lieutenant Ryan Cooper approached quietly. Sir, the Special Forces team is ready. We're just waiting for a signal or your command. Jack nodded. We'll give it 3 more days. Then we go in, signal or no signal. Suddenly, a communication officer called out, Captain, we're picking up something on the emergency frequency. Jack rushed to the console. What is it? Just a simple ping, sir, but it's definitely using Earth Defense Force encryption. It's them. They're alive. For the first time in days, Jack smiled. Tell the fleet to begin the diversion near Procyon. Lieutenant Cooper, prepare your team. We know where they are now. The hunt had begun. The Zarkonian Command Center buzzed with activity. Screens showed star maps and fleet positions while officers moved between stations. General Vex, the head of security, stared at a report with his 4 eyes narrowed. 3 patrol ships missing in Sector 7, he growled. No distress signals. No debris. His assistant shifted nervously. Perhaps a sensor malfunction. 3 ships don't just disappear. Vex snapped. Increase patrols in all sectors and put the defense grid on high alert. Another officer approached cautiously. Sir, there are reports of a human fleet gathering near Procyon for training exercises. Vex laughed, the sound like rocks in a grinder. Let them play with their toys. Their ships are no match for our technology. He turned back to the star map. Still, monitor their movements. Humans are unpredictable, if nothing else. What Vex didn't know was that the UES Defiant was already inside Zarkonian space. The ship moved silently through the darkness, its advanced stealth systems making it invisible to standard sensors. Inside the ship, Lieutenant Ryan Cooper briefed his Special Forces team. The signal came from the main research facility on the 4th moon, Ryan said, pointing to a holographic display. Our intelligence shows 14 human captives held in the Eastern Wing. The facility has 3 layers of security, automated defense systems, and approximately 200 guards. A female soldier raised her hand. Those are bad odds, sir. Ryan smiled. Not really. Captain Harris will create a distraction by engaging the orbital platforms. Meanwhile, we'll drop in from the dark side of the moon and enter through this maintenance shaft. He pointed to a small opening on the display. Intelligence Officer Daniel tracked their supply ships and identified a blind spot in their sensor coverage. Captain Jack Harris entered the briefing room. His eyes were tired but determined. We've intercepted communications from the facility. The captives have already started fighting back. They've disabled the surveillance in their section and neutralized at least 2 guards. The team looked impressed. Ryan nodded with pride. Told you we shouldn't underestimate them. My wife always says never corner a human woman. The team laughed, breaking the tension. Jack checked his watch. We're 15 hours from insertion. Get some rest. When we move fast. Inside the Zarkonian facility, alarms blared as guards rushed toward the human containment area. The chief researcher met them in the corridor, his gray skin pale with anger. How did they overcome 2 armed guards? He demanded. Unknown, sir, a security officer replied. The surveillance was disabled for 3 minutes. When it came back online, our guards were unconscious, and the humans were back in their sleeping positions, acting as if nothing happened. Increase the guard presence and install backup surveillance, the chief researcher ordered. And bring Subject 12 to the special testing chamber. It's time to see how these humans respond to stress situations. In their cell, the women sat quietly, pretending to be subdued after their failed escape attempt. The guards had counted them, found none missing, and assumed they had simply tried to overpower the guards without a real plan. But Alexa and her team had achieved exactly what they wanted. Karen's signal had been sent. Susan had copied important data from the terminal. And most importantly, Laura had managed to create more of her chemical mixture from their food rations. They're underestimating us again, Alexa whispered to the group. They think we're just trying random, desperate moves. Susan nodded. While we were at the terminal, I found the facility schematics. The Eastern Wing's power system is separate from the main grid. If we can cause a surge in the junction box down the hall, we could trigger a complete shutdown. Suddenly, the door slid open. 6 guards entered, weapons ready. Subject 12, come with us, the leader ordered, pointing at Karen. Alexa's eyes met Karen's. A silent message passed between them. Karen stood and walked toward the guards, her head bowed submissively. but her hand was closed around a small object Laura had given her, a mixture that would release a powerful gas when exposed to heat. "Be brave," Alexa whispered as Karen was led away. "Help is coming." Above the moon, moving through the darkness of space, the UES Defiant prepared for battle. The rescue mission had begun. Karen walked between the Zarkonian guards, her eyes down, her body language submissive. Inside, her mind raced. The special testing chamber was 3 corridors away, plenty of time to put her plan into action. She stumbled slightly, brushing against a wall panel. As she steadied herself, her fingers quickly pressed a sequence of buttons. Susan had discovered that these panels controlled local door functions. If pressed in the right order, they would reset for 5 seconds. "Move faster," a guard growled, pushing her forward. Karen nodded meekly. "Sorry, I'm afraid." The guard made the grinding sound they used for laughter. "You should be." When they reached the second corridor, emergency lights suddenly flashed. All the doors in the section slid open, then closed, then open again. "Security malfunction," one guard said, touching his communication device. "Control, we have a door system failure in Section 4. While the guards were distracted, Karen crushed the small object in her hand and dropped it near a ventilation grate. The mixture began to smoke slightly. Within seconds, a colorless gas spread through the ventilation system. Back in the cell, Alexa watched as the air vent above them began to pump out the gas Laura had created. The women took deep breaths, as instructed by Laura. "It won't affect us," Laura had explained earlier. "But for the Zarkonians, it will cause extreme dizziness and confusion." The guards outside their cell began to sway. One dropped his weapon. Another leaned against the wall, his 4 arms moving randomly. The cell door control panel blinked as the system reset from Karen's sabotage. "Now," Alexa ordered. Susan rushed to the panel and entered the code she had memorized from the terminal. The cell door slid open. The women moved quickly, taking the guards' weapons and communication devices. They split into 2 teams as planned. Alexa would lead one group to find Karen. Susan would take the others to the power junction to cause the blackout they needed. Above the moon, space itself seemed to tear open as the UES Defiant dropped out of stealth mode directly in orbit. Captain Jack Harris stood on the bridge, his face illuminated by the red battle lights. "All weapons target the defense platforms," he ordered. "Lieutenant Cooper, your team is cleared for drop." Ryan Cooper and his Special Forces team launched from the Defiant in small, fast pods that streaked toward the moon's surface. The Zarkonian orbital defenses, caught completely by surprise, fired too late. In the Zarkonian command center, General Vex stared in disbelief at the sudden appearance of a human warship in their secure orbit. "Impossible," he whispered, then roared. "Launch all fighters. Contact the fleet." An officer tried the communications array. "Sir, our long-range communications are being jammed. We can't reach the fleet." Another alarm sounded. "Power fluctuations in the research facility. We're getting reports of human captives escaping." General Vex slammed his fist on the console. "This can't be happening. They're just humans." In the special testing chamber, Karen faced the chief researcher. He was preparing some kind of device when the alarms began to sound. His communication device buzzed with frantic messages about escaping humans and an attacking ship. "What have you done?" he demanded, moving toward Karen. She smiled for the first time since her capture. "We signed your demise warrant the moment you took us." The door to the chamber burst open. Alexa stood there with 3 other women, all holding Zarkonian weapons. "Karen," Alexa called. "Time to go." The chief researcher reached for a weapon, but Karen moved faster than he expected. She kicked the table, sending it crashing into him. The women quickly subdued him and tied him up with equipment cables. "The others?" Karen asked as they rushed from the room. "Creating a diversion," Alexa replied. "And Susan is about to." The lights went out. Emergency power came on, bathing everything in dim red light. Perfect for humans, whose eyes adjusted quickly to darkness. Terrible for Zarkonians, who needed bright light to see properly. From above, they heard explosions as the UES Defiant engaged the orbital defenses, and from below came the sound of human boots as Lieutenant Cooper's team breached the facility. The hunters had become the hunted. The rescuers had arrived. Lieutenant Ryan Cooper moved through the darkened corridors of the Zarkonian facility with his team spread out behind him. Their night vision gear gave them a clear view while the Zarkonians stumbled blindly in the dim emergency lighting. "Life signs ahead," whispered a soldier, checking her scanner. "Human signatures. 10 of them." Ryan raised his hand, signaling the team to slow down. They turned a corner and saw a group of women armed with stolen Zarkonian weapons facing off against a squad of guards. Even without military training, the women had set up a defensive position using overturned tables and equipment. "Cover fire," Ryan ordered. His team opened fire, stunning 3 guards instantly. The women, seeing their rescuers, cheered and renewed their attack. Susan Miller spotted Ryan's team and called out, "Lieutenant, we have 4 more of us still missing." Ryan nodded. "Captain Harris said you'd be organizing trouble. I'm Ryan Cooper. We're here to take you home." "Susan Miller," she replied with a quick smile. Alexa Bennett took 3 others to rescue Karen Harris from the testing chamber. Eastern Section. Ryan tapped his comm unit. "Team 2, redirect to Eastern Section. Locate 4 of our people." Above the moon, the UES Defiant danced between energy blasts from the orbital defense platforms. Captain Jack Harris stood at the command center, his face lit by explosions visible through the view screen. "Target the main power generator on the largest platform," he ordered. "Then bring us around for another pass on the communications array." The weapons officer nodded, firing main cannons. Bright beams shot from the Defiant, striking the orbital platform. The explosion was massive, illuminating the moon's surface below. "Sir," the communications officer called out, "we're receiving a transmission from Admiral Wright." Jack raised an eyebrow. "Put her through." Admiral Wright's face appeared on screen. "Captain Harris, the diversion fleet has engaged the Zarkonian forces near Procyon. They took the bait. You have approximately 2 hours before they realize it's a trap and return to defend their homeworld." "Understood, Admiral. We've breached the facility and are extracting our people now." In the Zarkonian palace thousands of miles away, the Emperor raged at his military commanders. His massive form towered over them, all 6 of his arms gesturing wildly. "How did primitive humans penetrate our defenses?" he roared. "Send all available ships to crush them." The Grand Admiral bowed low. "Your Majesty, most of our fleet is engaged with human forces near Procyon. They attacked our supply bases without warning. Impossible. Their ships are inferior to ours." "The humans, they have weapons we have never seen before. 3 of our dreadnoughts have already been destroyed." The Emperor's eyes widened. They were hiding their true capabilities all this time. "Recall the fleet immediately." Back in the research facility, Alexa, Karen, and the other women ran down a corridor, heading toward the sound of fighting. They rounded a corner and nearly collided with another group of humans in combat gear. "Earth Defense Force," a soldier called out. "Team 2. Are you Commander Bennett?" Alexa nodded, lowering her weapon. "Yes. You found us just in time." The team leader checked his scanner. "We need to move. Extraction point is 2 levels up. Landing pad 7. Captain Harris has a shuttle waiting." As they moved through the facility, they passed dozens of confused and disoriented Zarkonians. Some tried to fight, but between the Special Forces team and the now armed women, they were quickly subdued. Karen touched Alexa's arm. "Wait. The research data. We can't leave it behind." Alexa nodded. "You're right. That's why they took us in the first place." She turned to the team leader. "We need to make a stop at the central database." Captain Harris was very clear. "Get you out at all costs." "The data shows what they were planning," Karen insisted. A breeding program to create human Zarkonian hybrids for labor. If we leave it, they'll just try again with another colony. The team leader hesitated, then nodded. 5 minutes. No more. In orbit, the Defiant destroyed the last defense platform. Jack smiled grimly as he received the message from the ground team. All captives recovered. Heading to extraction point with bonus package. The first battle was won. But the war was just beginning. The Great Hall of the Galactic Council was in chaos. Representatives from 50 species shouted over each other as news of the human attack on Zarkonian space spread. The council leader, a tall being with silvery skin, banged a glowing staff on the floor. Order. We will have order. The room gradually quieted. The Zarkonian representative, Krell, stood at the center, his gray skin dark with anger. The humans have committed an act of war. They attacked our sovereign territory, destroyed defense platforms, and stole valuable research subjects. We demand the Council authorize sanctions against Earth immediately. Ambassador Gregory Collins walked calmly to the center of the floor. He carried a small data device in his hand. Honored Council, he began, his voice steady. The Zarkonian Empire abducted 14 Earth citizens from a research outpost. When we requested their return through diplomatic channels, we were dismissed and mocked. Krell interrupted. They were primitive specimens selected for necessary scientific research. Gregory held up the data device. This contains the complete research files from the Zarkonian facility. Files that our people recovered during their rescue. Would you like me to share with the Council exactly what kind of research the Empire was conducting? Krell stepped back, suddenly uncertain. Gregory continued. The Zarkonians were creating a forced breeding program. They planned to create human Zarkonian hybrids as slave labor. They specifically targeted women because they believed them to be weaker and easier to control. Murmurs spread through the Council. Many representatives looked disturbed. Earth did what any sovereign nation would do, protected its citizens. The Zarkonians are fortunate our response was so measured. The Exilarian diplomat, Varn, spoke up. Ambassador Collins, your ships displayed weapons technology far beyond what humans have previously shown. You have been concealing your true capabilities from the Council. Gregory nodded. For our protection. History shows what happens when more advanced civilizations perceive others as threats. The Council leader leaned forward. You deceived us. We protected ourselves. Gregory corrected. And as yesterday's events demonstrate, with good reason. At that moment, a new figure entered the Council chamber. Commander Alexa Bennett walked confidently to stand beside Gregory. Her presence caused a stir. Many Council members had never seen a human female in person. This is Commander Alexa Bennett, Gregory announced, one of the women who was abducted and who led the resistance from inside the Zarkonian facility. Alexa faced the Council. I am not a specimen. I am not a research subject. I am a scientist, a leader, and a human being. What the Zarkonian Empire did was not just an attack on Earth, but a violation of the rights of sentient beings that this Council claims to protect. Her words hung in the air. Even Krell had no response. The Council leader studied her for a long moment. The Council must deliberate on these events. Back on Earth, Admiral Wright stood before the United Earth Defense Command. The large screen showed the Zarkonian fleet regrouping after the Procyon diversion. They're preparing a counterattack, Admiral Wright said. Intelligence suggests they'll target our outer colonies as retribution. Captain Jack Harris, newly promoted to fleet commander, pointed to a star map. We'll intercept them here, in the Ta City system. It's uninhabited space, so civilian casualties will be avoided. The Zarkonians still don't understand what they're facing, Daniel White said. They believe our show of force was our maximum capability. Admiral Wright nodded. Then let's show them what humans are truly capable of when provoked. In the medical bay, Karen Harris was reunited with her husband Jack. He held her tightly, his eyes closed in relief. I knew you'd come, she whispered. Always, he replied. The whole fleet was ready to burn their empire to the ground if necessary. Karen pulled back slightly. "There's something you need to see." She handed him a datapad. "I copied their strategic database. The Zarkonians have been planning incursions against multiple developing species, not just humans." Jack studied the information, his expression hardening. "This changes everything. The Galactic Council needs to see this." Karen nodded. "The women and I already agreed. We're going to the council to testify." The final battle was yet to come, but now, humanity had the truth on their side, as well as their strength. 6 months had passed since the rescue mission. The New Hope colony had been rebuilt, stronger than before. A memorial stood in the center of the main settlement. 14 stones arranged in a circle to honor the women who had changed humanity's place in the galaxy. In the grand meeting chamber of the Galactic Council, newly appointed Ambassador Alexa Bennett watched as representatives signed the Treaty of New Hope. The document officially recognized Earth as a major galactic power and established new protections for developing species. The final signature, announced the council leader as the Zarkonian representative, reluctantly pressed his hand to the document. The Empire, once mighty and feared, had been humbled in the short but decisive war with Earth. When the Zarkonian fleet had moved to attack human colonies, they found not the easy targets they expected, but a prepared and formidable defense force. The battle in the Ta Ceti system lasted just 6 hours. 7 Zarkonian dreadnoughts were destroyed, and the rest retreated in disarray. What followed was a series of lightning strikes, led by Fleet Commander Jack Harris. The UES Defiant and its sister ships hit key Zarkonian military installations with surgical precision. They never targeted civilian areas, showing a mercy the Zarkonians hadn't expected. When Admiral Wright finally offered terms of surrender, the Zarkonian Emperor had no choice but to accept. His own military leaders were already planning to overthrow him. As the ceremony concluded, Alexa moved to stand beside Susan Miller, now her chief of security. "Did you ever imagine this when we were stuck in that cell?" Susan asked quietly. Alexa smiled. "Not exactly this, but I knew we wouldn't be defeated." Across the chamber, Dr. Laura Peterson was deep in conversation with scientists from 3 different species. Her knowledge of Zarkonian biology, gained during captivity, had led to a new medical exchange program between worlds. Karen Harris stood with her husband Jack, both now in formal diplomatic attire instead of military uniforms. As head of the new Interspecies Communications Division, Karen was developing protocols to prevent future misunderstandings between cultures. The Exilarian diplomat Varn approached Alexa with a small bow. "Ambassador Bennett, my people have a saying. The quiet water can become the raging flood. We always suspected humans had hidden depths. We never wanted conflict," Alexa replied. "But we were prepared for it." "That is what many species now find most remarkable about humans," Varn said. "You are capable of both great compassion and formidable strength. When you rescued your people, you could have destroyed the entire Zarkonian facility. Yet you took only what was yours and left minimal casualties." Before Alexa could respond, a commotion near the entrance caught her attention. A Zarkonian in civilian clothes, not military or government, approached cautiously, flanked by council security. "Ambassador Bennett," the Zarkonian said, bowing deeply. "I am Tyrex, representative of the New Dawn movement on Zarkon Prime. We seek Earth's assistance." "Assistance?" Alexa's eyebrow raised. "For what purpose?" "Our people face threats from outer systems that once feared our empire. Now that our military is reduced by the treaty terms, several species see an opportunity for revenge." Tyrex's voice lowered. "We need protection, and the Council has refused our request." The irony wasn't lost on anyone present. The mighty Zarkonian Empire, which had once abducted humans as specimens, now came to Earth for help. Alexa shared a look with Jack and Karen, who both gave subtle nods. "Earth will hear your request," Alexa said finally. "We understand what it means to need protection in a dangerous galaxy." As they walked toward a private meeting room, Gregory Collins, now Earth's senior diplomat, joined them. "The galaxy is watching how we handle this," he said quietly to Alexa. She nodded. "Then let's show them exactly what humanity stands for. Not just strength in war, but wisdom in peace." On a view screen above the council chamber, images from across the galaxy showed the new reality. Earth ships helping evacuate civilians from a natural disaster, human doctors treating alien children, and on New Hope Colony, the memorial stones gleaming in the light of a rising sun, a reminder of 14 women who had changed everything.